Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Belly to Belly. And today we're here with great friend Adam Breeze from Breeze Strategy. Welcome, Adam.
Hi, morning. Lovely to see you, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great to see you as well. And so our audience are companies that are interested in particularly U.S. expansion, and they're at various stages from being fairly mature and maybe already in the market and kind of looking to expand further, or being more early stage and kind of just in that discovery mode of kind of learning what they don't know yet, and all that kind of excitement. So before we kind of dive into the real content, it'd be great for people to know about Breeze Strategy and what you do to help international companies expanding.
Sure, thanks, Bill. Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with inward investment and economic development for more than a quarter of a century now, getting on for like 28 years. And as you can tell by the accent, I'm based in England, in the city of Manchester. But I've worked all over the world. I come at the process of international expansion with some experience on each side of the fence. I've worked with locations, so I know what they try and do to attract. I've worked with the companies themselves, so I know what they're looking for out of their strategies. And I've worked with the multipliers, advisors, and intermediaries in the middle. So kind of a 360 view of that marketplace. And like I say, every day for the last 28 years, I've been looking to help companies into that space. So at Breeze Strategy, that's my consultancy that I've run for 16, 17 years now. We work with some of the world's most successful locations. So we help advise them, and in some cases, like in the case of Tennessee, we actually represent them in a market. But then I'm also working with a number of other companies and partners that are also in a similar space.
Fantastic. And particular to Tennessee, because that's obviously a city or a state that many people are interested in. What do you find are the big attractors for companies as they are looking at Tennessee? Because it's not, most people coming in think of New York or Silicon Valley or whatever. Kind of why Tennessee?
Yeah, exactly that. Most of the British and Irish companies that we work with, their first thought is East or West Coast. What we're finding, certainly post-COVID, is people are a lot more open to looking at other locations that offer a better mix of both sort of strategic location, but also quality of life as well, increasingly important. I think from my workings with the companies themselves, what they're really looking for is an access to market. They're not looking to do business in Tennessee per se. They're looking to access the whole of the United States, in fact, the whole of North America. So, obviously being pitched on either coast is going to put you at a considerable location disadvantage, whereas the access that states like Tennessee can give you by being very central. There's a good reason why FedEx have their headquarters in Memphis, and why Memphis is the number one freight airport in the world at the moment. So that sort of logistic reach is really important. Just the two other things that we're finding are big attractors. One is obviously the very favorable tax regime there. Having no salary tax is always a good thing in the eyes of most people. So what that's also doing, it's not only attracting companies in, it's attracting a lot of talent into the state. And where the talent goes, so the companies follow. So a lot of the companies that we talk to are really interested in the demographics, and particularly the fact that Tennessee is one of the states that is consistently growing at a very fast rate, with some really cool happening cities, whether Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville, Chattanooga, all doing really well in the last couple of years.
Nice. Yeah, that's fantastic. So with the experience you've had and all the years of working cross-border, as you think about where companies fail in that, and certainly crossing borders is adds a great deal of complexity to doing business and growing successfully. But what do you find are kind of the most common fail points that you see?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bill. I think the one thing that I find is the lack of realism sometimes. Everything is going to be more difficult, even if you go into the most sort of favorable and supportive of environments like Tennessee. That there will always be more issues to get over than you've probably planned for. And one thing that I deal with a lot of sort of scale ups and tech companies that are growing very fast, but perhaps with venture capital behind them. So they have the means to expand in multiple markets at the same time, or so they think. Anybody that's opened up an office or a factory, even a one-person operation in an international market, knows that it's not very straightforward. So whenever I'm talking to a company and they tell me that they're going to be opening up in the States, Brazil, Dubai, and Australia in the next 12 months, I'm always a little bit, really? Okay. So it's great to have that ambition, and it's obviously great to have the wherewithal in terms of financial means. But the actual management team, C-suite team resource that it saps is something that most people really need to get their heads around. That's probably the biggest issue, I think.
Yeah, sort of preparing the executive team or management team to, whether it's fill the gap in the person that's going to the new market, or even preparing or selecting that person, is, it sounds like that's a big issue that you see.
Yeah, and I think that ties into one of the lesser valued aspects of working with an economic development agency. Not only Tennessee, anywhere you decide to choose, it's the same. Yes, we can provide incentives. Yes, we can provide all of the glossy materials. But it's those sort of network introductions. It's the below the line stuff. It's integrating you with potential partners that might not have a financial value straight off the bat, but in terms of time and effort that it saves, that can be a real game changer.
It's funny you say that, because we did, this is probably 2 years ago now, we did a whole series of interviews with very successful CEOs of companies that had expanded to several countries. And when we asked, without any prompting, we asked the same question of everybody, which was, what's the number one factor in your success as you've expanded? And 100% of them said the networks that they developed in the new geography were the number one sort of reason for their success. And obviously, whether it's working through the local economic development folks or any other good networks that they're able to tap into, that seemed to be the real common denominator for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about that is it increases the amount of cultural awareness and cultural learnings that you'll have, because even though you speak the same language, even if you have a similar a business and legal system, then even between states, as you know, that there are some interesting and significant differences when it comes to culture.
Yeah, no, that market intelligence is so important. So, I think in terms of, so that's obviously one great recommendation in terms of, you kind of get, whatever you can do, sort of in advance, plus as you get on the ground, really focusing on building good networks. Are there any other pieces of advice you'd offer to companies as they're looking to expand? Obviously work with the local economic development folks, but what other things should they do?
Yeah, I mean, I always encourage people to look around a lot. I mean, I'm never one that says don't look at any other location. I think that with Tennessee we can do that because we like being benchmarked against other people, because we usually come out pretty well. But you don't want to sort of shoehorn somebody in that hasn't seen anywhere else. So I'm always quite excited when I hear that a company is going to visit 5 or 6 different states, because I know then we can put our best show, and I'm sure that we're always in the top couple. So I think that have a look around, do your homework, benchmark. but don't get too bogged down in the data, because every state is a collection of lots of cities, and the average here versus the average there, whether it's wage rates, whether it's property availability, it doesn't really have any meaning. So try and get down to a comparable sort of a model in each place, based on a real physical property in a real specific place with some real numbers on, and that way you can start to really understand how one place stacks up against another, and just try and get granular in terms of that, and don't go for the averages.
Yeah, no, I love what you said about really advocating that people see several places that potentially are good fits, and I would imagine, it's great to attract a company, but it's really the retention of the company that's important.
Absolutely.
And that's only going to happen if they make good decisions, right? And
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that retention will come from the fact that things don't end when you cut the ribbon.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to Tennessee.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So embedding those investors and those companies, continuing to make sort of those strategic introductions really, really important. So and again, we see that time and time again. Not only in the States, all the successful locations in the world do that really well. Sometimes they do it subconsciously, sometimes they have a proactive policy, but it's just about being friendly, open, transparent with people and trying to help them. And certainly in Tennessee and across a lot of the South, the hospitality thing is really, really strong, and that's something that's really impressed me over the last few years. Is how encouraging and supportive everybody seems to be of any new business. So a real community pulling together and welcoming new companies, whether they're from the state, from Japan, Korea, Germany, wherever. So I think that's important.
That's fantastic. Well, we're going to put all of your contact info in the description below, and certainly encourage people to touch base. And I can't wait to see you when I'm in Manchester in November. So that's going to be fun as well. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning, Adam. And we'll look forward to hearing really good things about companies going to Tennessee and all the great work that you're doing.
Thanks very much, Bill. Really great.